Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ethan Cole, and this is an opportunity to shine the spotlight through the product lens on some of the exceptional leaders we have as part of the LA tech community in an unedited, one take organic conversation. We have another special episode today. This is part 2 of our conversation with Sumeet Rana, the founder and CEO of Prodhub.ai. Now, we spent most of part 1 discussing his extensive product background. He had leadership product roles at MySpace, Disney, and Experian. And in part 2, we're double-clicking into his current venture, which is like a GitHub for product, which he created out of a need identified in his previous roles. But first, a word from our sponsors. We're brought to you by Unita. Unita Club is the co-working space that sets itself apart. With locations in El Segundo, Manhattan Beach, and Hermosa, Unita is where creativity flourishes. Unlike traditional offices, they provide an inspiring environment where ideas can thrive and businesses can grow. With Unita, there's no hidden fees, flexible terms, options for dedicated offices, and unlimited access to conference rooms, a photo studio, and a podcast studio, plus standard and 3D printers and 24/7 access to any of their locations. They're local champions who support neighborhood businesses, open their event spaces to nonprofits, and celebrate art, music, and culture. Join Unita Club and experience co-working like never before. Learn more at www.unita.club. That's www.unita.club. We're also brought to you by the Product Managers Association of Los Angeles, available at pma.la. They're the largest professional organization for product and designers in LA. With more than 3,000 members from over 500 companies, they host monthly meetups, organize a product leader council, and have a mentorship program where they connect working product managers with students from underrepresented groups to build a better and more diverse next gen. To learn more about PMA, go to pma.la. To learn more about the mentorship program, go to pma.la/mentorship. And now, here's more from my conversation with Sumeet Rana. So we didn't really get a chance to talk about you being the founder and CEO of Prodhub. In the first piece of this episode. Could you give a 30-second description of what is Prodhub.ai?
Sure. So, Prodhub.ai is built on the core hypothesis that in every single application, digital application, there are common repeatable patterns. For
Okay.
example, every application needs a sign in, every transactional application needs payments. Payments could be complicated. You need to get payments through a card. You need to be able to save a card. You need to be able to charge the customer. What if the customer does not have enough funds? You need to give an error,
Right.
right? So it could be complicated, but yet it has been done billions, if not trillions, time over,
Right.
right? Yet in every organization, every product managers write these requirements over and over again. So that's kind of where we saw that if there are common repeatable patterns, and our estimate is at least 50% of any digital application are common repeatable patterns. If there are these common repeatable patterns, why are product managers still creating these requirements over and over again? Because there is no solution out there. There is nothing that will give people the access to product requirements that have been written by somebody else. Well, there was a company that did something similar.
Okay.
And we talk.
I can't recall it. So interested to hear about it.
I'm trying to draw a parallel here.
Right.
So if we go back a few years and we look at software engineering, the way engineering evolved, and engineers wrote custom code, and some smart person went up and said, "Hey, why do we always create custom code? Let's think of something better." Well, that better solution was a library, and that's how libraries were created. Well, why do you need a library? Because you don't want to create a custom code every single time. Fast forward, bunch of smart people came together and they said, well, now let's take it at a larger level. There are so many common repeatable patterns in software engineering. Let's build a consortium. Let's build one place where people can go and get help. And that place today is called GitHub. It's GitHub for engineers.
Interesting. Yeah.
100 million users use GitHub today. That is software engineers. Now, going back to the Prodhub, while engineers have that problem solved through something like GitHub, product managers do not have that problem solved because there is no GitHub for product. That's effectively what we are building. we are building a repository of product requirements that are common, repeatable patterns, where you could come and find the user stories that have already been created by our experts, and you will get very good user stories, use cases, and acceptance criteria created for you. All you have to do is search, find the user story, and export it, add to Jira, or add it to your products, and you can manage your product portfolio on Prodhub.
Wow. So I've seen, and I hadn't heard of. I thought there was a product version of this. I have heard of GitHub. Yeah, it's a fantastic parallel. Wow. So in my experience, I've definitely seen that and faced that. In multiple different places, from small startups to Fortune 500 companies. We've rebuilt the wheels so many times. Uh, just trying to put together a sign in, or even it can be so simple. It's like the Google sign in, right? And there is documentation on the Google site, but at the same time, you really still need to create the Jira ticket. And how many times have I done that in my own career? I can't even count. I mean, it'd be nice to have, even I have my own personal library, which I definitely do not. But this idea of kind of sharing it, and it's a good analogy. I like this idea with GitHub, because one challenge could be like, all right, well, every business is different, but at the same time, every piece of software is different, and engineers are able to find these libraries and use it and then modify it. So that's interesting. Yeah, that's terrific. What challenges are you facing with Prodhub?
Um, well, we are a startup, so we just started.
Right.
So just to take back a little bit, we spent like last 9 months of the last year talking to product managers. I think I spoke to close to 400 PMs.
Classic. Like you like, so you get pure product management through and through, like a product manager creating a
Absolutely,
product
absolutely
for
right.
product
So,
people.
so before you build a product, you need to get some validation, and that's what I did. I spoke to as many PMs as I could, and we spoke to people at Meta, Google, Amazon, and you name it. And
Right.
of course, I had experience at Disney and Expedia. I spoke to a bunch of people there as well.
Right.
And some of the problems that we are trying to solve exist in every organization. Like number one, I said, is the common repeatable patterns that people are creating every single day. Number two, which I think is very interesting, is there is a research report out there that shows that on average, teams spend 43% of their time in technical debt.
Okay.
Now, why does technical debt happen? It happens because somebody missed the requirements when they were creating the requirements. It happens because you
Mm.
did not think about the scenario at the time of the start of the project. And honestly, to a certain extent, it's very difficult to think about every single scenario. But if you do the preparation ahead of time and you have the information ahead of time, the technical debt could be managed. And our solution achieves to reduce that technical debt because we have already crafted those stories. And not just that, we have looked at the edge cases, we have looked at
Yeah.
the scenarios that are gotchas that you typically get into at the time of launch. For example, compliance, for example, security, for example, in going back to the payments example, how many times you think of a scenario and you think about all the edge cases around it. And a trained product manager is good at it, but an untrained product manager typically thinks about the best case scenario. They don't think about the worst case scenarios. That's where the technical debt comes from,
Right.
right? So that's the second problem we're trying to solve. Because we have these requirements that are created, we will save that time for you. And lastly, is that's a very interesting problem and has happened in every experience that I have been part of, is the duplication problem. Is where if you have single source of truth, you avoid the duplication. If the organization is
Mm.
large, the chances of duplication are more. True story. We were building the chatbot at Disney,
Okay.
and we got summoned in CTO's office one day, only to find out there are four other teams building chatbot. So that wasn't a fun meeting, and you didn't want to be in that room. But that kind of highlighted the fact that the duplication problem exists in every organization because not everybody talks to everybody within the organization. But if there was one tool that will give you already the access to what you need to be looking at, the duplication problem can be reduced. Hey, check Prodhub. Maybe we already have the stories over there. check product, or probably somebody has documented this already, and you could solve that way. So we validated this. We spoke to like so many people, and we asked them like, is this a problem that exists? Yes, that's a problem that exists, and that's how our solution has been built. So today, after doing that, in April we launched it. We have 3 beta customers. So just like any bootstrapped startup, the number one issue that you have is you want more users to use the product, and you want them to validate and give feedback. So right now, what we're looking for is we're looking for more users to use our platform and give us feedback on how they're finding value in the product. That's the number one focus that we have. We want people to use our product.
So for listeners here, and especially product folks out there, um, what would they be able to find right now on Prodhub.ai? Would they be able to identify some of those stories that would prevent them from having to reinvent the wheel?
Yeah. First of all, our platform is live. It's fully functional. Product managers should be able to find the user stories that already exist. They will be add to export and add to Jira, so they don't have to do any manual work. It straight away goes into Jira, and they will be able to manage their entire product portfolio in our product section. So they will be able to do that. And just recently, what we did was, so that there are no gaps, we've added the generative AI pieces as well, which will allow them to create user story, use cases, and acceptance criteria, regardless of the vertical they are in, regardless of the industry they are in, regardless of the problem they're trying to solve. And we have added a lot of intelligence and science behind it, where the responses that they get are much more accurate and much more contextual to the problem they're trying to solve. We need as part of our setup, we need them to set up their profile, and once they set up the profile, the responses that they would get through generative AI are going to be much more contextual to them. So effectively, by adding the generative AI pieces, there are no gaps right now. They can find any user story, they can create any user story, they can export it, they can add to Jira, and we welcome anybody to try the product.
That's great. It's definitely close to the zeitgeist of generative AI and the uses of ChatGPT. And I know in my own world, my own life, I am finding myself use it more and more for some of those more mundane tasks, and the ability of it to help clarify some of the language. So yeah, so of course it's a feature that would be available in this new world where we're creating libraries for folks who are looking to spend less time writing user stories, especially from scratch. You know, starting with that blank Jira ticket, or like even the template, and then trying to figure out those first words. That was always a challenge. It was always easier to have something at least as a base, and then building on top of it. And I definitely feel you on the multiple teams working on the same type of story. I've, in my own experience at some of the larger companies, found myself building a story, and then someone else in the organization, I mean, like 1,000-person team working on this project, had a different Jira instance. So it's not even like I couldn't even have access to what they were working on. It's not even that I didn't do my Jira search to see was there something else there. I just didn't even have access to it. So I feel that pain. I definitely see advantages of preventing double work. So that's interesting. So we spoke about your background, in product, first as like a IC frontline person, like on the verge of changing how technology was used by users, with AOL and then Disney. But how did you find yourself to becoming a founder? How did you find yourself dedicating your life to Prodhub?
Yeah, so I think as of right now, about 20 years of experience in the industry. And like I said, I'm very thankful for the experiences I had with working some of the best companies. Um, but I think the next step, the logical step, being a product executive in the company, the next logical step was to be a founder and CEO of a tech startup. And again, it was largely driven by how big this problem is, and there's no solution out there. There are product management softwares out there, but they are largely again, very good softwares that allow you to create products and user stories and all, but it doesn't solve the fundamental problem that we are trying to solve,
Right.
which is avoid duplication. Why create when it already exists? And our mission is that, just like any automation software, if you look at it, what is the value of any automation software? To save you time,
Right.
so that you can focus your time on valuable things, right? So our mission is very similar. We want a product manager to focus on strategy, to focus on solving customer problems, to drive business, not focus on mundane tasks or documenting mundane tasks, right? So our mission is, it drives from that I did not find any other product out there that does this. And therefore, I felt the need, that opportunity is big, and we could solve this for many, many product managers. And if you're successful in what we are doing, we could save that time for a product manager, so they can launch products faster. They could drive their businesses more. They would be able to focus on strategy and customer problems, which is honestly, I believe, going back to the why question.
I was about to go there. Yeah.
Right? Honestly, that's where it all comes back around, right? Like, why are you trying to do this? Well, I'm trying to do this because I want to build my business. Well, so are you spending your time building that thing? No, I'm spending my time writing requirements that already been written by many people many times over, maybe in my own organization, right? So that's what we're trying to solve.
That's fantastic. And that reminds me of, the Marty Kagan differentiation between product owner and product manager. And this is allowing folks to spend less time, or have to dedicate less time to the product owner aspect of it, and gives them more time to focus on the product manager aspect,
Absolutely.
asking the why, looking at how are we treating this to customers, and less paper pushing and paper creation. So
absolutely.
Wow. Well, thanks again, Sumeet. This is great. Thank you for sticking around and telling us more about Prodhub.ai.
Thank you.
And it's available at Prodhub.ai.
That's right.
Well, great. Well, thanks again for sticking around, and really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ethan. This was fun.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
It was great. Thank you. Well, there you have it. That was my conversation with Sumeet Rana, who's solving problems that I experience in the field and have seen at many different companies that I've been at personally. Really excited for this project. I'd like to thank him again. I'd like to thank our sponsors, PMA LA and Unita. I'd like to thank you all for listening to us once again. And if you like what you hear, please smash that subscribe button. Thank you again, and we'll catch you next time.